Why that original Nasidiya Sukt, which was not a fiat but showed an openness of mind, an eclecticism, an ability to be inclusive. Ekam Sat Vipraha Bahuda Vadanti. The truth is one. Ano Bhadraha Kritavo Yantu Vishvata. Let good thoughts flow to me from all directions. Udara Charitanam Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. For the big-hearted, the entire world is a family. 6 other systems of philosophy, no, 5 other, Advaita is one of them. They were called Sankhya Yoga, Nyay, Vaisheshik, Purv Mimansh, Uttar Mimansh. Now, I don't have the time to dwell into each. But the interesting thing is that at a certain level, all 6 can be called atheistic. They are not talking about God. All of them are trying to understand what could be that mystery, that secret, that cause of this bewildering cosmos. They are all explorations. They are not devotional texts. They can be called atheist. And before we move on, let me tell you why that original Nasidiya Sukt, which was not a fiat, but showed an openness of mind, an eclecticism, an ability to be inclusive, is reflected in 3 other Mahavakyas of our ancient past. One of them, again from the Upanishads, is Ekam Sat Vipraha Bahuda Vadanti. The truth is one. Wise people call it by different names. They did not say the truth is only what we say. And this was said by our ancient sages at a time. And that is why I call it revolutionary. At a time when humankind was itself settling down into small habitations and tribes, when they believed that what we believe in is the only truth. And here, these ancient seers were saying, the truth is one, but different people can call it by different names. Another Mahavakya. Ano Bhadraha Kritavo Yantu Vishvata. Again said around the same time, let good thoughts flow to me from all directions. At a time when most people said, keep what is outside out and believe only in what you think is right. And when I entered Parliament as a member of the Rajya Sabha, the first thing I noticed in particular was the main gate, at the arch is written, the 3rd Mahavakya, Udara Charitanam Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. For the big-hearted, the entire world is a family. The small say, this is mine, that is yours. For the big-hearted, the entire world is a family. It happens to be the motto of one of the universities, Symbiosis, where I am a distinguished professor and I teach a capsule on Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, a series of lectures. So this is what is Hinduism. And this is how it involved, and I want to stress a point here. No one has been burnt, at least until now. No one has been burnt on the stake or killed for heresy in Hinduism. Yes, there are strong believers of different sects within Hinduism, but the Charvaks, which by the way is a very deeply reasoned, scientific and detailed philosophy, which believes in materialism. What you see exists, jo pratyaksha wo sakshat hai. They have called Vedas, which are not Smriti, which are not writings from memory, but Shruti, the revealed word. They have called the Vedas a bunch of lies, and they are a part of Hinduism. The Tantric school, it follows unorthodox traditions, which are not part of mainstream Hinduism. They are part of Hinduism. In the 9th century, there was a Sufi in the Middle East who said, Anul Haq, I am the truth. He was beheaded. In the 8th century, Adi Shankaracharya wrote the famous Nirvan Shatakam, where he says, Na me raga dvesha, na me moha lobha, madho neva me neva matsarya bhava, na dharmo na chartho na kamo na moksha, chidananda rupa, bliss and awareness, shivoham shivoham, I am Shiva. And he is considered the reviver of Hinduism. He could negate everything, na dharam, na arth, na kam, na moksha. He says, na punyam, na papam, na sokhyam, na dukkham. There is no punya, there is no, ritual of worship. There is no punyam, na papam, there is no sin. There is no punyam, na papam, or soy, or joro, na mantro, na tirtham, na vedo, na yagna. There is nothing called the mantra, the tirth, the Vedas or the yagna. Aham bhojanam neva bhojyam na bhokta. I experience, but I am neither the experience nor the experiencer. Why? Because tat tvam asi, that am I. And therefore, Chidananda Rupa, bliss and awareness, which is exactly what that practiced meditationer felt in those moments of deep meditation. You are that. Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. I am Shiva, I am Shiva. You can say this in Hinduism. So this is the religion that we are heir to, and along with it developed a great civilization which has not been fully explored because it lasted for thousands of years, and it was marked by antiquity, by continuity, by assimilation, by diversity, and by peaks of refinement rarely seen in art, in culture, in poetry, in music, in literature. A full civilization. I mean, when you go to Ellora and you see that temple carved out from one mountain from top to bottom to precise geometrical symmetry, or when you read some other texts of Hinduism or some of the poetry which I'll just come to. So this is what Hinduism is, and the reason why it has survived is its conquering eclecticism. How do you destroy something which accepts? There were movements that came out of Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism. And we said Buddha is an avatar of Vishnu. And there were Hindu kings who went to Sangha, Buddhist Sanghs, and also gave donations to temples. The Jain system, a great system, is again one which tries to avoid fiats. You know, it's system of Syadvad. It could be. That's what Jainism says. This is not. This is, and this is not. This is, and this is not, and this is inexplicable. And it goes on in 7 steps. It's like the 7 blind men at an elephant, each calling it by different names, because they shy away from saying this alone is the truth. So they are all part of Hinduism. They've grown from it, and not to say that they are not great religions in their own right. One of the things that Hinduism teaches you to is to respect all faiths. The truth is one, wise people call it by different names. And so this religion and its civilization evolved, but it received a great setback with the Turkic invasion. Will Durant has called it the bloodiest chapter in world history, one of the bloodiest chapters in world history. There was an attempt, and that is part of the angst in some Hindu circles. There was an attempt for well-intentioned reasons in the aftermath of partition to gloss over some of the destruction, the pillage, the plunder. But the fact is that it happened. And the setback to Hinduism was great. All its main centers of learning were destroyed. I mean, when Nalanda, where both Hinduism and Buddhism was taught, when it was burnt by Bakhtiyar Khilji, the library burned for over a year. It was so rich in manuscripts. So there was destruction. How did Hinduism survive? After all, Islam conquered Indonesia, which was a predominantly Buddhist country with an island Bali Hindu. Within 200 years, almost all of Indonesia became Islamic. The Turkic invasion, which got finally assimilated into this great syncretic Ganga Jamuni culture that we have. But the destruction was so great. How did Hinduism survive? It survived because it moved from the clutches of a largely priestly class to the common person. And how did that happen? It happened through 600 years of the most remarkable movement called the Bhakti movement. I urge you all to read some of the poetry of the Bhakti movement. Now these are common people, not priests. Many of them are lower caste, many of them are women. And what is significant is that they are writing in their own language. In Marathi, Gyaneshwar, Namdev, Tukaram, in Bengali, Chandidas, in Maithili, Vidyapati, in Brij, Surdas, Govindas, in the south, the great Basavanna, Allama Prabhu. It was remarkable movement. And the female Bhakti poets, Mirabai, Antal, Akka, the poetry they've written in their own languages, which can touch the common man, which took it away from the sanctum sanctorum of temples to the masses for 600 years. And that Bhakti movement and Hinduism survived because it is not brittle as some people are trying to make it today. It can adapt. It is accommodative in its original thinking. And some of the poetry of the Bhakti movement takes your breath away for its beauty. Kabir, read Kabir. Guru Nanak. Ek noor se sab jag upja. From that one luminous light, the whole world has emanated. The simple prescriptions of Sikhism, they are not prescriptions. Japji, chant the divine's name. Seva, Khandavak, Kirtan. Simple things common man can understand, common people could understand in their own languages. And so Hinduism survived. Then came the British conquest. Now, the British, originally when they came, there was a school, and you all know the Asiatic Society was established in Calcutta. And there were a group of remarkable scholars who realized the greatness and profundity of this ancient civilization. But soon they were marginalized as the more aggressive colonization took place. And the success of colonialism, please remember, is not the physical subjugation of the quote-unquote native. It's the colonization of their minds. And the reason why they need to prove that they have the right to rule is to show that they come from a civilization which is superior to yours and therefore you deserve to be ruled. And unfortunately, many Indians, including among the elite, internalized this critique and sought in so-called Western terms to sanitize their own legacies of anything which may not win British approbation. So there was a distortion which took place. And then we come to 1947, because remember one thing, I want to stress this fact. Hinduism, as I said to you, is dialogic. Adi Shankaracharya and Mandan Mishra, two great intellectuals of their time. One believed in the Gyan Marg, Shankaracharya, path of knowledge. The other believed in Karma Kand, Mandan Mishra. Which means if you do the prescribed the rituals as prescribed by the Vedas, that is enough to lead you to the final goal, which is the final goal of all schools of thought, moksha. And so, Adi Shankaracharya goes to Mandan Mishra's house. He doesn't take a gun and shoot them, like has happened with some people in our country. He doesn't beat him. He doesn't cancel him. He requests him for a dialogue. Sabya Samvad, civilized discourse. And that dialogue goes on for over a month. And in my book I have pointed out places which are still revered for the spot where this dialogue took place along the Narmada river. Although one theory believes it happened in Bihar. The point is that in an era when there was no social media, no television, all of Hindu India followed it and internalized the basic message that dialogue, not violence, is the essence of this religion. And in the end, Mandan Mishra loses. And the condition was that, and interestingly, I sometimes wonder, Adi Shankaracharya agreed to Mandan Mishra's wife being the umpire. And she, of course, that's another long story, but I don't have time for it. But she then decided who has won, and both her husband and she became the followers of Shankaracharya, and she became a very prominent follower. In fact, Shankaracharya believed in Shakti greatly. There is a Shakti Peeth in all the mutts he has set up. And the four Purusharthas of Hinduism, before I come to the finale now. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. This is not part of prescribed text. But this is part of the Hindu worldview. It is more than Confucius in terms of describing a balanced life. Dharma, right conduct. Artha, the validity of material well-being at a certain stage of your life. We love our spiritual halo, But we are resilient entrepreneurs with our feet on the ground and the eyes on the balance sheet. Because it's validated by the worldview of Hinduism. Artha. Kama, the pursuit of the sensual. And moksha, which is nirvana or salvation. And Vatsyayan in the Kama Sutra, it begins, people only see the graphic pictures, they don't read the text. My book on the Kama Sutra is probably the most widely sold and least read. Because nobody reads my text, they only see the illustrations. However, Vatsyayan in the first chapter is asked by an imaginary interlocutor, why do we need this book? And he says, if these are the four Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, then each of the first three, that is Dharma, Artha, Kama, pursued in proportion but not in exclusion, as part of a balanced life will lead to moksha. So it's a balanced religion. Today you have marauders harassing young couples, saying this is against Hindu culture. They have imbibed this Victorian morality rather than trying to protect Hinduism, which has always been, look at our temples, look at our texts. So therefore I'm saying the distortion, and now I come just to close in 3 minutes. I'm so sorry I've spoken longer, but this is a subject I can go on and on speaking. Now today what is happening is, yes, there were certain angsts growing among segments of Hinduism. In the pre-independence era, the support by Mahatma Gandhi to the Khilafat movement was opposed by people in the Congress like Dr. Ambedkar, who said that what is the need to support a pan-Islamist movement? But Gandhiji did it in order to preserve Hindu-Muslim unity. But there was opposition, especially opposition because the Caliphate had been abolished in Turkey itself. But we were part of the Khilafat movement. Post-1947. And there can be different views on this. I'm talking to you about some of the angsts among segments of Hindus which have been exploited today to create a new form of Hinduism. When Somnath, the temple where one of the 12 Jyotirlings, it's a very sacred spot for the Hindu community, which was vandalized 17 times and plundered, was renovated by public money, the question came of who will do its inauguration, and Dr. Rajendra Prasad, the President of India, accepted, but Jawaharlal Nehru publicly objected to it, saying it is anti-secular. Nehruji is well-intentioned. He is one of the great founders of this modern republic, which is secular, progressive, democratic. But there was a feeling that secularism is being interpreted very narrowly. When the personal laws were amended, only the Hindu personal law was amended. When the Supreme Court gave a completely balanced judgment on the Shah Bano case in favor of change, progressive change, in order to preserve a certain minority vote bank of the Muslims, Rajiv Gandhi, who was in support of the Supreme Court judgment, was advised to use an ordinance to overrule it. It created angst among the Hindus. The fact that Hindu temples are not run by Hindus but by trusts appointed by the government and is the only religion where this happens is a matter of angst among Hindus. And the rise of the BJP has been based on building on these angst, culminating first with L.K. Advani-led Rath Yatra to Ayodhya, and later by the current regime we have. And I'm not against the reclamation of Hinduism. I am against its distortion, its mutilation. And when I say that, I mean that you cannot revive Hinduism by taking away from it what is its essential characteristic for its eternality, which is Sanatan, by making it something different. by weaponizing it, by using it to create a divide in society, by using Sri Ram as a political tool. I mean, here is Sri Ram, who's called Maryada Purushottam. When asked by Bharat, what is the highest dharma? In Tulsidasa's words, Sri Ram says, Par hit saris dharam nahi bhai, par peeda sam nahi adhamai. There is no greater dharma than welfare of others, and no greater sin than injury to others. This is Sri Ram. So, when there are new Thekedars of Hinduism who say, this is what you must eat, this is what you must drink, this is how you must pray, who tell women what to wear and how to be a chaste Hindu woman. And the irony is that the knowledge of Hinduism and its philosophy, if one of them, of these lumpen elements, is locked in a room and said that he or she would be released after they write 2 pages on Hinduism and Hindu philosophy, they would spend their entire life in that room. So these illiterate people who don't know Hinduism are interpreting it for us today, who take any criticism of Hinduism as being anti their faith. But Hinduism has survived and blossomed through a dialogic critique. This is its essence. I do not approve of what Udayanidhi Stalin said in terms of language. But the whole Tamil Nadu movement is based on Periyar's philosophy that Hinduism needs social reform. Sanatan Dharma, a great part of it, and this is the need for social reform in this religion, is based on exploitation and oppression of the lower caste. Tamil Nadu is 81% Hindu, but of that 81%, 70% are backward classes and 20% are Dalits, who have been at the receiving end of the caste system. And say, please don't tell them, as some people in the north are doing, that you are not Hindus because you criticize Sanatan Dharma. I don't like the language of Udayanidhi Stalin, nor do I justify it. But what they are saying is that you are not holding the monopoly on Hinduism. I mean, Tamil Nadu is the very cradle of Hindu civilization, the best temples. Shankaracharya came from the south, Ramanujam came from the south, even Chaitanya came from the south. Thiruvalluvar has written more on Hinduism. It's called the 5th Veda. So you have to understand the truth of Hinduism before you begin to say, I alone know what it is. And that is what unfortunately seems to be happening today. And we must be vigilant and always remember that to be a Hindu, a true Hindu, is to respect differences, respect diversity, and respect all faiths. Thank you so much.